the sale that it was a final sale because she got what she received.
What did she receive?
She received 6 months worth of services that she did not want, which were complimentary. She also received a full skin regimen, day cream, night cream, cleanser, toner, eye serum, eye cream, peeling gel.
And she paid how much for all of that stuff?
Nothing. She only bought one eye cream. That
Well,
was the initial.
Just a second. How much was the eye cream?
It was $600, I believe.
Do you still run that place when you're not sunning in Miami?
No, and those are the only...
Just a second. It takes an awful lot for somebody who feels as if they've been taken advantage of to actually go to the police and said, I was duped by this dope, or a dope that was duped by this dope.
Defendant Eric West claims the plaintiff, Linda Bernadeschi, purchased products with a no-refund policy. Linda felt she could not leave unless she bought the items.
The eye cream was $600. Okay. All right. Mr. West, I'm not going to waste any more time with this case. You're going to get your $8,000 back when Mr. West gets back his sealed wand. Do you understand?
Yes.
If it's been opened...
It hasn't.
If it's been opened, it belongs to you. Do you understand?
Yes.
If it's been opened and it came in a sealed package, it belongs to you. As soon as Mr. West receives, you're still in the same location? Are you still in the same location? That's either a yes or a no.
I'm not in the location, no.
What?
There's another operator there, but just for the record, I believe that we opened the device because she wanted to know how to use it at the store.
Just a second.
Okay.
So then you have no problem, sir. Do you understand?
Yes.
Unless she can return the item to you sealed, because she says it's sealed, and there's no way that it could have been opened. That's what she told me. If she opened it, that means she tried it. And if she tried it, it belongs to you. Do you understand?
Yes.
So within 5 days, he gets the product back. What?
I just want to show you this final sale agreement that she wrote.
I understand what it says, sir. I understand what it says. I also understand that your little company had 2 prior complaints from that location. And it takes an awful lot for somebody who feels as if they've been taken advantage of to actually go to the police. Most people just write it off and said, I was being a real schlemiel and I was duped by this dope, or a dope that was duped by this dope. And just say,
Your Honor.
I'm going to eat it. What I'm telling you, sir, is I buy an awful lot of junk for my face. That's what old people do. They buy lotions and potions and stuff. I even steal some of hers. And I have plenty of dough. I have never, ever in my life spent $600 on eye cream. Ever. And so if she spent $600 on eye cream, that means she could have bathed in all the other products and you still would have made money. She is going to get her money back for this worthless piece of accessory, because it's worthless to her because she hasn't used it and she doesn't want it. And she's going to get it back from you when she produces the sealed package. That's it. And you're her witness?
Yes.
Do you live close by to this shop?
Yes.
Do you still run that place when you're not sunning in Miami?
No, and those are the only...
Just a second. The answer is no. What happened to that business at that location?
There's another operator coming in, and our contract ended recently. So there's another company coming in to run it.
Sounds like such a Ponzi scheme. The whole thing sounds like such a Ponzi scheme.
No, it's called COVID.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $8,000 when she produces the sealed item. Thank you very much. We're done here.
This court is adjourned.
This woman clearly had a bad episode of buyer's remorse, was emotionally unstable, used somebody else's credit cards that claims to be her husband, and God only knows what other kind of schemes she's trying to pull.
Well, I think the judge made a very sound decision because the guy is a total fraud.
She actually took advantage of me and took my time for 3.5, almost 4 hours, asking me, what is this? How does this work? What is this? How does that work? And I literally used all these products that she purchased and got to see results from that she was happy with when she left.
Absolutely manipulated me, went out of his way to manipulate me.
Well, she opened it in the store, so if she does return it, she'll have to seal it again with some kind of plastic sealer that they use like for those old VHS tapes when they used to seal them after you watched them from Hollywood Video.
Beware, because there's a lot of frauds out there.
I stand by my products.
The product is intact.
For once in my life, I am so glad that when I'm walking on the street, and we've encountered these people in our walks just around, like you said, around our neighborhood, for my resting bitch face. Because never once have they looked at me and said, she looks like an easy target for us to pull into the store. Not once.
Would you give me an example of
Just, I think, living in New York City as a woman alone, taking the subway for 3 years.
I want you to look at me.
No, I can't recreate it. You know it when you see it. You know it when you see it. I'm sure it's on one of our episodes. But I just am so disgusted with people like that know exactly what they're doing. He suns himself in Miami on the weekends, all on the backs of these poor, older people who feel pressured, and maybe like she was saying, she lives with someone who's a recluse, who I'm sure she doesn't speak to that many people, and that's the whole scam. And I just feel so terrible that this guy takes pride in his business that is scamming people.
It looks like a little bit of a shady business that he went into for $200,000, and now somebody else took it over.
And not anyone with a last name.
Yeah,
There's
right.
never anyone with a last name involved in these things.
People have to be careful. You know, in the law, caveat emptor, let a buyer beware. That's okay. But this over-aggressive salesmanship reminds me, Sarah, of something that the Legal Aid Society, who were the defense team in family court, would argue in a closing statement in a robbery case to me. They would say to me, it's not a robbery. He was aggressively panhandling. That's what it was. It wasn't a robbery. Yeah. It was an aggressive panhandle. This is just aggressive salesmanship, is what he's saying. Well, the line crosses between aggressive salesmanship and and what amounts to, at least in her case, and the case of at least 2 other people who went into that store, feeling that they were uncomfortable about leaving unless they purchased something. You know, you and I are tough birds. We would, you say, well, we're leaving. Oh, really? We're not leaving until we buy something? Yeah, right. But some people can't do that. That's not in their character. Anyway, if somebody puts them out of business, another business will just pop up. Because as, I don't know, was it W.C. Fields said, there's a sucker born every minute. I'm not exactly sure who said it, but somebody will.
Kimberly Gutierrez is suing her mother, Rhonda George, for false allegations, debit card charges, and personal belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2131, Gutierrez versus George.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Gutierrez, this is your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
And who is this?
My grandmother.
And that's your daughter?
Yes.
I'm reading the complaint and the answer, and this is what your complaint is about. You claim that your mother had you falsely arrested, as a result of which you spent 4 months in jail. While you were in jail, it is your claim that your mother used a debit card of yours, I think $3,000 worth, and you had some belongings at her house that you want. I gather that you've had some problems in your own life. You have at least 3 children.
Yes.
Was the state ever involved in placing the children in foster care?
No.
And what about your daughter?
My daughter, yes.
And how old is your daughter?
She's 19 months.
At what point did the state become involved with your daughter?
In May of this year, May 18th of this year, when there was false allegations made against, when my mom refused to give me my daughter back.
In May, when you brought your daughter to your mother's house, when?
I called my brother on May 17th of 2022, and I asked him to babysit my daughter.
Your brother. And does your brother live with your mother?
Yes, he was staying with her at that time.
So on the 17th, you asked your brother, who was staying with your mother, if he would babysit for your daughter. Where were you going?
I was needing to go to Fresno, and I had just received my income tax check. So I needed to go to Fresno, and I was on foot because my car was impounded the day prior.
Were you going alone?
To Fresno, yes.
So you brought your daughter on the 17th of May to your mother's house, and your brother was supposed to watch him, according to you, while you went to Fresno.
Yeah, he met me down the street, actually, because there's a restraining order, so I didn't actually go to the resident.
Who has a restraining order?
My mother has a restraining order on me.
Is the restraining order that she has against you a final order or a temporary order?
It's good for 3 years, that's all I know.
That's a final order. Was that a final order of protection after a trial, or did you consent to it?
I was not notified of the court date. I didn't consent to anything.
Okay, so it was a default.
I don't know what that means.
It means you didn't show up and they entered a final order of protection in favor of your mother. So you're not permitted to go to her home.
Right.
Since that's not really the subject of this, I don't have to get into it. In any event, you went on the 17th, you dropped your child off at your mother's house, your brother was there, and then what happened?
I finally got to Fresno, I got a ride, I got to the check cashing place. It literally took me...
Don't tell me, I'm not interested in that. 17th, you dropped the child off. You were supposed to pick the child up when?
That evening.
On the 17th?
Yes.
And did you?
I showed up it was a little before 10. I showed up, I called my brother, I said, I'm down the street. He was like, yeah, I'll be right there.
10 o'clock at night?
It was almost, ma'am, I was on foot. And
I asked you, 10 o'clock at night.
It was right before 10, yes.
Okay?
When I got there, I called him. It had been about 15 minutes had gone by, and I called him back, and I said, where are you at? And he said, Mom won't let me leave with the baby. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, Mom won't let me leave with the baby. My mother instinct kicked in, and I went in like fight or flight, and I walked down to my mom's house, and I knocked on the door and was asking for my daughter. I finally came to my...
Okay, so when your brother said that to you, instead of going to the police, you violated the order of protection.
I ended up leaving and calling the sheriff.
Okay, but you didn't. You went...
Of course, yes. I was going for my daughter. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what happened at 10 o'clock at night or 10:30?
Yes. I finally realized that about 5 minutes of being at the house, I was like, okay, you need to leave. So I left because she wouldn't open the door to give me my daughter. I left. I called the sheriff. And so I told them the situation. So they had walked down to my mother's and let her know that what she was doing was basically...
No, not what she was doing. The police came
and told her
with
that they
you.
could arrest her, and told her that if she did not, that she needed to get my daughter back. But because it was late, the baby was already asleep, and so the cops that came back down to me, and they said, look, we don't, because they knew me.
Whatever. I'm allowing you to give me a certain amount of hearsay so that I can make this story make sense.
Oh, okay.
Do you understand? But don't tell me because they knew you, what they thought.
Yes, ma'am.
You were told to come back in the morning.
Yeah, the agreement was that between my mom and the sheriff was that I could pick up Malia in the morning. The sheriff told me to call before 6 o'clock in the morning before he got off his shift, and that he would come back out and do another standby. The next morning came. Between me and my grandma, I had us call my mom. And
No, just a second. What does that mean between you and your grandma? Your agreement was you were supposed to call the sheriff. The sheriff, according to you, before 6.
My grandma.
No, not the grandma. The agreement was you weren't supposed to call your grandma. You were supposed to call the
sheriff. Right, but I needed a ride. So I called my grandma to have her come pick me up.
Just a second. Where were you?
I was staying at a friend's house. I didn't live in Selma.
Just a second. You were staying at what friend's house?
The sheriff came, got behind us, and tried to pin us in, and my grandma went to take off.
So your grandmother was driving?
Yes, ma'am.
And she was trying to evade the police to go someplace else?
Kimberly Gutierrez claims her mother, Rhonda George, owes for debit card charges and personal belongings.
You were staying at what friend's house?
My friend Isaiah's.
Isaiah?
Yes. I stayed the night there waiting for my daughter.
Just a second. Isaiah. Isaiah what?
Bonilla.
And what is your relationship with him?
He's my best friend. He's been my best friend since high school.
Where are you living now?
I live with my grandmother right now since I was released.
Full time?
Right now, yes.
What do you mean right now, yes?
I'm in the process of getting my own place.
Okay, so you called your grandmother and then?
Called the sheriff.
And then?
Waited for the sheriff to respond.
And then?
The sheriff did not respond for a few hours.
Okay, so you were waiting for the sheriff to respond. The sheriff did not respond until when?
It was after 7 o'clock in the morning, and it wasn't even yes, ma'am, 7 a.m.
7 a.m. Your daughter is, according to you, 19 months old? 19 months old. And she had prior to that been living with you?
She was living with me all the time, yes.
She was living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now let's get back to this arrest that you had. According to your papers, your daughter was with you up until that time. What time did she wake up in the morning?
Usually she wakes up between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, well, then could you tell me why, if she wakes up between 7:30 and 8, why you would even contemplate picking her up before 8 o'clock in the morning?
Because one of my issues was with certain officers that would have been responding, and the officer that responded the night of the incident, he told me if you wanted me to be the officer to respond, you need to call me before I get off my shift.
Fine, but he didn't respond to you. But according to you, he didn't respond to you.
No, it was a different officer.
So then my question to you is...
He did respond at 7 o'clock in the morning.
And did what?
It was a horrible mess.
Well, he did what?
They responded. When they responded, he showed up. The officer told me that he did not want to be there. He said, if I have my way, you'll never see your daughter again. And I looked at him, and I said, wow. Okay.
What do you mean you looked at him? Where were you when you looked at him?
I was right next to him, but I just...
Where, at the precinct or at your house?
No, down the street from my mom's.
Okay, so he responded to you when you were down the street at your mother's house, and he said, I'm not getting involved in this, and if I had my way, you would never have your daughter. And so what did you do?
So at that point, my grandma pulled up, and I told him, I said, your assistance is no longer needed, and that my grandma could just get my daughter. And he says, well, you already called me. The deputy did. So I said, okay, whatever. He asked me if I had somewhere to live, and I said yes, and whatever. And so he went down to my mom's. When he went down to my mom's, he was supposed to just go down there and get my daughter. When he was taking too long, I could walk so far this way, and I could see straight down my mom's street. So I did. When I did, I seen that my mom was out there just giving him an earful. I know this woman very well, okay? So I just imagined what was being said about me. Well, I guess the back door is screwed and nailed shut at the house. I don't know why.
I don't know. It's not important.
Yeah. So anyways, my best friend went over the back fence.
What do you mean your best friend?
Isaiah Bonilla.
Oh, so you brought Isaiah with you.
He went.
Just a second. So you have your grandmother, and then you've got Isaiah, your best friend, also to go to your mother's house.
Yes, ma'am. He got my daughter.
Isaiah brought her to where you were.
Yes.
And then what happened?
I started walking back towards Isaiah's house. When I started walking back towards Isaiah's house, my grandma pulled up in her car and she was like, "Are you ready to go get your car out of the impound lot?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm ready." And so I got in her back seat with my daughter. When I got in the back seat, I got in the middle. Well, then she was like, "Well, I don't know what's gonna happen. Your mom's over there saying a whole bunch of stuff to the deputies, so I don't know what's gonna happen." And so I was like, "Well, I gotta go get my stuff from Isaiah's." So I go to jump back out the car. As I go to jump back out the car,
But just a second. Now you have your daughter.
because I needed my wallet. My bag was at Isaiah's. My purse and everything was at Isaiah's. I was gonna go back and pick it up. Well, right when we were gonna go back, the sheriff came, got behind us, and tried to like pin us in, and my grandma went to take off.
So your grandmother was driving.
Yes, ma'am.
And she was trying to evade the police to go someplace else.
Yes, ma'am.
And how many police cars were involved?
One.
Were there ever any more than one police car?
Once we got to the police department, of course, there's a police department.
No, I'm talking about the number of police cars. So there's a police car
Oh, like
now.
coming behind us? No, it was just one.
It was just one.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were accelerating
No.
to get there? Was the police car siren on?
No.
Well, how did you know that he was trying to pull you over?
Because he tried to hit her car.
Oh, that would give you a clue. So you're telling me he tried to hit your grandmother's car without notifying you in any way to pull over?
Yes, ma'am. That's why I spent 4 months in
Just
jail,
a-
and I beat my case. I went to trial and beat my case. Everything was dismissed.
I'm not responsible for the criminal justice system. I'm only responsible for what goes on here.
Yes, ma'am.
So I assume once you got to the police station, both you and your grandmother were arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was in May.
Yes, ma'am.
And now uncross your arms. And now we're in December
Yes, ma'am.
of the same year.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're out of jail.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've been out of jail for about...
Since August 25th.
Who does your daughter live with?
Right now, she's with the mentor. She's my ex-husband's aunt, ma'am.
And who placed her with your ex-husband's aunt?
I did.
Not the court.
No, I requested her.
Does the child's great aunt have guardianship?
No,
Custody?
I'm getting my daughter back, ma'am.
But for the last 3 months, she's been with this aunt.
Right, because Child Protective Services did get involved, and Child Protective Services, I've been doing everything that...
That's what I asked you. I asked you whether Child Protective Services
Child
were
Protective
involved.
Services did get involved with my daughter, yes.
Did. That's what I
And
assumed.
I've been drug testing, I've been
Just
doing...
a second.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I assumed, that Child Protective Services was involved. And so if Child Protective Services are involved, then they are overseeing the child's placement with the aunt. You have an ongoing case.
Yes, ma'am.
Probate court.
No, not probate.
Which one? Family court?
Family court, yes.
When was the case opened with regard to your daughter in the family
May
court?
18th, the day I got arrested, ma'am.
And that child became involved with the foster care system in May. Okay, so your grandmother also spent a little time in jail. How much?
2 weeks.
I quite frankly don't understand your case.
While I was in jail, Your Honor, while I was incarcerated, my mom had all my debit cards, my ID. She had went and actually, because of me getting arrested, she had went to Isaiah's and picked up all of my stuff.
You mean, just a second. Let me understand this. It is your claim that the reason that you had to go to Isaiah's house was to get your pocketbook, your wallet, your credit
never
card that
made
you
it
left
there.
that you left there.
But I never made it there.
I understand that. And Isaiah, clearly, from what you tell me, knew of the problem because he was part of this little conspiracy to get your daughter out of the house and was at the back of the house to pick up your daughter who was being put over the fence. So why would Isaiah give your mother...
Because she went over there with a baseball bat and busted out his windows. On February 4th this year, I lost my twins, okay? And that was the first time I had contacted my mother because I was going through it, and I messaged her and I told her, I said, I really need my mom right now. If anything, I need my mom right now.
Kimberly Gutierrez is accusing her mother, Rhonda George, of wrongfully using her debit card and keeping her belongings.
So why would Isaiah give your mother...
Because she went over there with a baseball bat and busted out his windows. And the reason why all of my things were at my mother's was because I hadn't lived at my mom's for over a year.
What your case is about...
Is my belongings?
You claim that your mother went over and got your wallet from Isaiah's because I asked you what you were doing here. I certainly am not looking into the allegations of false arrest. It sounds as if you did the absolute wrong thing in trying to regain your daughter, whose custody, actually, you lost at a dispositional hearing and was determined to be a dependent child and placed in foster care. That's what happened here.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not even addressing your claims of false arrest.
Okay,
What you
so
did
then-
was actually the wrong thing. I said, so what are you suing for? Now,
My
you said
my belongings,
Okay,
my
what?
money.
Just a second. What money?
She used my CalFresh, which is my EBT food stamps, and my CalWorks, which is my cash aid through the welfare department.
Just a second. So you're suing her for taking your food stamps and your welfare check.
Right.
Just a second. Your food stamps and your welfare check.
And this is the statement from my tax return of all the money that was on there.
On where?
On my debit card. It had over $3,000 on it, and I marked what was used after she had picked it up. And then these are receipts from some of my belongings that was at her house.
Just a second. You haven't lived in your mother's house for...
I moved back to my mother's in the
Just
beginning.
a second.
Yes, ma'am.
You hadn't lived in your mother's house. According to what you said to me, Whitney, was it a year ago? Didn't you say that you moved out of
My
your
mom
mother?
allowed me to come back.
Because there was an order of protection.
She had called me. I was living in Fresno, ma'am.
Just a second. You hadn't lived in your mother's house. You said you were living with your grandmother. For how long were you living with your grandmother before
I
May?
said I was living with my grandmother right now. I was living in Fresno, ma'am.
I want to know what property you think...
My clothing, my husband's clothing, my daughter's bassinet. I had jewelry there. I had all of my clothing.
Why would all of your clothing be there? You were living with your grandmother.
I hadn't moved into my grandmother's until I got out of jail. I was living in Fresno, and my mom...
Just a second.
You're not
Is that
letting me
what...
talk.
I'm not understanding your movements.
Rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2175, Grimm versus Lee.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Miss Grimm, in what state do you live?
Missouri,
In what county?
Jackson.
You have a daycare center.
An in-home childcare, yes.
For how long?
I started September of 2022.
What is your house like?
I have a single-family home with a finished basement and then like an attic type. It's 2 bedrooms.
House has 2 bedrooms?
No, up in the attic has 2 bedrooms. It's technically a 3-bedroom house, but it has made 6 rooms.
And how many children do you have?
I currently have 7.
How old are they?
14, 13, 11, 8, 5, and 3, and 18 months.
3 and 18 months.
I'm sorry, she's 4 now. She just turned 4.
So the older ones go to school. Does the 5-year-old go to school?
Yes,
And the 8-year-old goes to school.
correct.
So you have 2 little ones at home.
My 4-year-old goes to early childhood, half a day.
So you have 1 child at home during the day
Correct.
and 1 half a day.
Yes.
And you have 3 children.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
I now have a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 5-month-old.
And those were the children that you enrolled in her daycare center.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Grimm, what kind of licensing do you have, an application that do you have to make in order to run an in-home daycare center in Missouri?
So in the state of Missouri, as long as you have under 6 children, you do not have to have a license.
As long as you have 6 children in total in the house, or 6 children
That I'm watching.
that you're watching?
Correct. Because my school children are not considered watching, like under the law.
Well, you certainly have to watch your 18-month-old.
Yes, he's the only one. That's why I've always kept 5 children or less.
It is your claim that Miss Lee entered her children into your program. She paid you for a certain period of time. She owes you for 2 weeks.
Correct.
And with those 2 weeks that her children were actually in care,
Correct.
which 2 weeks were those?
They are the last 2 weeks of October.
Of 2022.
Correct.
And the children were in your program.
Correct.
Miss Lee, were the children in Miss Grimm's program the last 2 weeks in October?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
Did you pay her for the last 2 weeks in October?
No, ma'am, I did not.
How much were you supposed to pay her?
For the last 2 weeks was supposed to be $600 because our agreement was $600 every 2 weeks.
Okay, so it was supposed to be $600.
Yes, ma'am.
So now the ball is in your court so far, Ms. Grimm. We're not talking about a late fee. We're just talking about these 2 weeks.
Correct.
First, tell me your reason for removing the children.
I removed my children out of her care because my children, every time that I picked them up, it was either they were harmed or injured, or my son, my 3-year-old, would tell me something had happened while I was gone at work in her care. My son had told me on numerous accounts that she hit him herself, and then he also told me that her 15-year-old son, or 14, I'm sorry, had also spanked him. And when I did ask him, well, I asked her, actually, I said, who is Trey? Because he said, Mommy, Trey hit me. We were getting in the car. They normally do help me get in the car with my 3 children, seeing I have one who's barely walking.
You're getting You get going all over the place.
Yes, ma'am. So they normally help me get in the car with my children, so they were outside with us, and my son said, Mommy, Trey hit me like this. I didn't know any Trey, so I asked her, who is Trey? And she said, that's my son. And he said, that's me. He was standing right there next to her. He said, I'm Trey. And I said, Bryson said that you hit him. And he said, yes, I hit Bryson. He said, I popped him because Bryson wasn't doing right. Bryson didn't want to go to timeout.
On what day was that?
That was on October 25th.
And what was the last day that your children attended?
October 27th.
Okay, so despite the fact that Trey, your Trey?
Yes, ma'am.
Slapped the 3-year-old, said that he slapped the 3-year-old, you let him stay there for an extra 2 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Just that's it, yes. Now, where were you working that you had your children in daycare?
I was working as a CNA.
What is that?
A certified nurse's assistant.
Where?
It's a
Nursing home?
rehab. Yes, ma'am.
When did you start working there?
I started working there in September.
September of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Beginning of September?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you stop working there?
I stopped working there October 27th. That was my last day.
If I were to call, would they tell me that they terminated you or you quit?
I quit.
Did you quit on the 27th?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about now? Are you working?
I am.
Who are you working for?
I work through a temp agency, working per diem at different locations as a CNA.
And who takes care of your children?
My stepmom. My children,
Just a second. And when did you start that job?
I started that job about 4 weeks ago.
So, in December?
Yes, ma'am. Late November or so.
You left the children there until the end of October. It couldn't have been so disturbing for you, madam, to leave the children there until the end of October, another 6 weeks, if you felt as if they weren't getting adequate care. And if you did, that would be on you.
Janice Grimm claims her client, Dallas Lee, refused to pay for child care services. Dallas is countersuing for lost wages and emotional distress.
So a relative has been taking care of your children?
Yes, ma'am. Not all 3 of them. I had to send my 2 sons because I had to rearrange my daycare situation. I had to send them back to Texas to be with their dad.
So 2 of them went back to their father?
Yes, ma'am.
And who do you live with here?
I live with my dad.
What does he do?
My dad is a nuclear medicine technologist.
So your stepmom takes care of one of the children?
My 5-month-old daughter, yes, ma'am.
Who's in the house? Now you're going to tell me why you didn't pay her for the last 2 weeks.
So my children began in her care September 12th. September 13th, she sent me a text message while I was at work, and she said, I want to let you know, Lil Mama was bit today by my 1-year-old on her cheek. She sent me a picture. I have this.
Not interested. I mean, it's not that I'm disinterested. It's that don't show me anything from September, madam. You kept your children with her into October and through the end of October. And if anything was so concerning to you that you thought your children would be at risk, I'm certain that you would have discussed it with your father, and your father would have said to you, don't speak. Okay. And your father would have said to you, if you have a problem with the children, don't let them stay there. What you did, okay, I can see that you're dying to tell me something. What?
Yes, ma'am. My daughter had no other choice but to keep her children in care because I work a full-time job.
Let me explain something to you, sir. Your daughter was living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. There is always an alternative, sir. I have young grandchildren, and I would say if I was legitimately concerned for their health and safety, I don't care what it is, stay home and take care of your children. You'll have a roof over your head until you find appropriate take care. And if you didn't do that, then you're not much of a grandfather.
Well,
you can't use something that happened in September or early October to say, well, that's why I didn't pay the last 2 weeks. So you can't make excuses, sir. I'm telling you, I'm a grandmother and I've had little children. I don't care what you had to do. Quit my job, whatever that job is, and say, we'll all stay home and take care of the children until you find, or you stay home and take care of the children. I'll provide you with whatever basics you need until you get the right daycare. And if you didn't do that, don't tell me that your daughter didn't have a choice. There is always a choice when your babies are concerned.
In our estimation at that time, we were giving her some hard life lessons because she does now have 3 children, and there are going to be some difficulties in this living situation. There are going to be some things. So what we're doing, we're giving her some tough love and saying, hey, you cannot give up just because the chips are down or because things happen. You have to try to figure things out.
Well, that would be on you. That's not on her. This is not her daughter. It's your daughter.
Absolutely.
And your grandchildren, sir.
Absolutely.
And if you want to teach her some real hard lessons and say you got to stay with the daycare, even though you're dissatisfied.
We said give her a chance because it was the first day.
So
It was the first incident, first day. We said, give her a chance. Things happen sometimes.
What I don't want to hear is from you, who seem like a very intelligent man, a working man, is my daughter had no choice. Your daughter has a choice. Her choice is to say to you, Dad, please, I have to find the right daycare. I have to stop working at this job. I may need a month. You may not have liked her previous irresponsible behavior, right?
Correct.
But the deed is done. She got 3 young children.
Beautiful children.
Right? So what you do is when you have 3 young, beautiful children, you protect them.
Absolutely.
And if you're not smart enough to protect them yourself, you got to rely on your father who's smart enough to do that. What I'm saying to you is your daughter used this lady's services and she has to pay for it. She may not send her children back, but your statement that you were so anxious to make to me, which is my daughter had no choice, she did have a choice, sir. She did have a choice. Before I would let my children stay in a place where I actually believed that they were being abused, because that's what she's suggesting. I mean, she's not suggesting that this young man, who I'm not condoning hitting a 3-year-old, gave him a slap on the rear end. I'm not condoning that. But there were no injuries to him. I don't know whether you've done it. I don't know whether she's done it to her child. You certainly don't want a daycare provider's child to discipline a 3-year-old.
Absolutely.
That's not what it's about.
But after the first incident, what we were trying to teach her is that you don't just throw in the towel, because Ms. Grimm was just starting her service up. And
September 5th.
So we understand that there are going to be some hiccups and some things that she has to fix as she comes across them. And so she's a young lady. My daughter's a young lady. So as an older man, I'm trying to support 2 individuals to build their lives up. And so I told my daughter, I don't like that she was bitten, but at least she came forward very quickly and told you. So leave them there for now. And if anything else transpires, then we can start to look at things then. Yes, ma'am.
Who do you work for, sir?
I work for the Veterans Administration.
And how long have you worked for the Veterans Administration?
21 years.
Do you get paid every 2 weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's say your boss at the VA all of a sudden decided they didn't like the work you were doing. And you left and they owed you 2 weeks' pay because you had actually worked for the 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
And you sued them for those 2 weeks. You worked there. You said, well, we didn't like the quality of his work for those 2 weeks. Well, then you fire him. But you pay him. It's like going to a restaurant. My favorite analogy is you go into your favorite restaurant where you get a steak. And you order a steak, medium, Pittsburgh medium. Steak comes, you cut into it, you take a bite. Oh my God, you say, I don't like the way this tastes. You take the plate, you spit out the bite if you're smart. Call the waiter over and say, this is a bad steak, right?
Absolutely.
And the waiter takes it off the bill or you order something else. Now you cut into that same steak. You taste, you say, this tastes terrible. Maybe the next bite will taste better. Before you know it, you've finished the whole steak. Waiter comes over to take your clean plate. You say, the steak was awful. I didn't like it. It was bad. Well, what'd you eat it for? But if you ate the steak, you got to pay for it. If you take a bite and say it's no good, I'm in your corner. Send it back. But your daughter ate the steak. She used her services for 2 weeks and didn't pay her.
Well, we can't say that she used her services because there are other pieces of evidence that we have.
Well, you mean you're talking about that sometimes she left the children with her husband?
Yes.
Yeah. Baloney. Your daughter had the benefit of daycare so that she could work. If you're not satisfied with the service, you stop using the service. If you continue to use the service despite the fact that you're not satisfied with it, you got to pay for it. That's America. You got paid, your father got paid, she gets paid.
Shanice Grimm has accused her client, Dallas Lee, of refusing to pay for childcare services. Dallas claims Shanice wrongfully disciplined and neglected her children.
Your daughter had the benefit of daycare so that she could work.
Absolutely.
And she had the benefit of daycare from this lady that enabled your daughter to make money.
But if we're talking breach of contract, the contract was breached when the husband watched the child. And
now you're not teaching your daughter responsibility. Now you're making excuses. Now you're not teaching your daughter responsibility. Your daughter worked to make money. You worked those last 2 weeks, didn't stay home with your grandchildren. You made money.
Absolutely.
The only one that didn't make money and had her 3 children for those 2 weeks was the plaintiff. She ate the steak. She used the service. She didn't have anybody else. It's not as if, well, I had to hire somebody else to take care of the kids the last 2 weeks, even though it was in my deal. So that's why I'm not paying them. She worked, you worked, she worked. And if her husband, if she ran out to the store and left her husband, unless You're telling me that that was such a breach of the agreement that your daughter took the children out of a program. Did she? No, she did not. She didn't say, I'm not allowing your husband to take care of my children, even if it's just for an hour. I'm taking my children out of the program. Dad, can you help me out for the next couple of weeks until I find something else? But you can't eat the steak, which she did. Now you can sit down.
Can I say one more thing?
Not if you want to continue to look foolish. Now you're not teaching her responsibility.
Well,
now you're not teaching her responsibility. I don't want to have to teach you responsibility.
Well, you don't have to. I'm a veteran. I know what responsibility is. But when you are promoting your program as one thing, but your service is another, I cannot say that if Bobby Flay is cooking the steak.
It doesn't matter who was cooking the steak. It was whether you ate the steak. It's whether you ate the steak.
I get what you're saying, Judge. But if it's promoted as Bobby Flay cooking it and Bob Burger cooked it, and I don't like the taste, then those are two different things.
Oh, no, sir. If you're promoting Bobby Flay as cooking the steak and you find, or the hamburger, and you find out that Bobby Flay's younger brother was cooking the steak or was cooking the burger, and either way, if the burger is no good, you're not going to eat it. But you can't eat it and say, well, I really thought I was getting a Bobby Flay hamburger, and I didn't get a Bobby Flay hamburger, so I'm not going to pay for it, even though I ate it. Now you can sit down. How much is 2 weeks' worth of care? $600?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff, $600. You have a counterclaim. Counterclaim is ridiculous. Money owed for lost wages, emotional distress on behalf of the children. You shouldn't have emotional distress on behalf of the children, madam. You're their mother. The first time you had an inkling that you felt that your children, your young children, were being neglected in the plaintiff's care, what you should have done was remove them. Remove them. First time you felt as if 3-year-old shouldn't have been subject of a slap by this young man? Great. Remove them. You found that the baby, the little one, was bitten by her little one. You say, that's not watching them carefully enough, because they, I think, are supposed to be separated, correct?
Yes.
No, we were all in one room, so they weren't having to be separated, because with me only having less than 4 children, there was no way of separating because there was only one me.
It's a big responsibility to take care of little children.
Correct.
My daughter shouldn't have been in his reach. She did tell me that she left out of the room.
I agree with you.
She left out of the room is what she told me, Judge. So that's actually not true. She told me that she left out of the room and went to the kitchen.
What day? Give me the date that happened.
September 13th.
You left the children there until the end of October. It couldn't have been so disturbing for you, madam, to leave the children there until the end of October, another 6 weeks, if you felt as if they weren't getting adequate care. And if you did, that would be on you. And maybe a little bit on your father. Because if you told him about it, said, oh my God, that's terrible. Take my child out right away. All 3 of them. But you didn't. You left them in there September 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, all the way up until the end of September and the end of October. That's on you.
Actually, she did not have them in the end of September because she was suspended from her job. So they were gone for 2 weeks in September.
Were you suspended from your job?
I was. I had to...
That's my question. You were suspended from your job. When you were suspended from your job, did you take the children out of daycare?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's reasonable. She didn't give you a problem with that, I assume.
No.
And you didn't pay for those 2 weeks?
I did not.
Great. Well, these 2 weeks you're going to pay for. Because
I don't believe I owe her anything.
I don't care what you believe. If you're not listening to what I'm saying to you and you're fixed in your opinion, that means you haven't learned anything. Your father tried to teach you a little bit of tough love? What I'm telling you is, if you work, you get paid. If you're not satisfied with the service, you stop using the service. If you continue to use the service despite the fact that you're not satisfied with it, you got to pay for it. That's America. You got paid, your father got paid, she gets paid. She didn't get paid for the 2 weeks you took your kids out. Didn't say to you, well, you have to pay me anyway. I have to keep this open for you. That was very fair. Took the kids out, didn't pay. You left your kids in, you pay $600. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I am a little upset she didn't see things my way.
The judge was kind of in my favor for the majority of it.
You know, her leaving my children in the care of her 15-year-old son and also her husband.
And why did she continue bringing her children to me for another month?
Also, my son letting me know that, you know, she hit him.
I have never touched her children. I could take a lie detector test to prove it.
It was pretty difficult for me because I didn't have any other choices. I didn't have anyone else who could help me with keeping all 3 of my children while I work.
She actually never gave me excuses. She actually just told me she was going to pay me.
Life is not easy.
If you work, you should get paid.
But you get back up and you keep moving.
My generation, I'm not sure about yours, I haven't had much experience in yours, but in mine, I think we confuse having to make a hard choice with being out of options. Here, I felt for the defendant, she had to make a hard choice. But even when her father came up and felt the need to burst out and say, my daughter had no options, she had no choice. Well, she did have a choice. It was a hard choice. You had to send your 2 older sons to live with their father and find a sort of mediocre, at best, childcare situation. But you made the choice to have those 3 children. And when you have children, you make a commitment to make the hard choices to benefit them.
In their best interest.
In their best interest. And if you're not prepared to do that, then you shouldn't become a parent.
In any event, I tried to make my steak analogy. It didn't.
I thought it was great.
Okay.
I had a great time.
Great. I'm glad you
I thought
did.
it was a good lesson.
Thank you.
Is suing her neighbors, Pamela Jackson and Ashley Jackson, for filing false CPS reports and defamation of character.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2176, Hernandez versus Jackson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Hernandez, you and the defendants are neighbors.
Yes.
You more recently moved into the neighborhood,
Yes, on February 25th of 2022.
and you've been living there for about a year.
Year and a half.
I have complaints and cross-complaints. Each one of you are claiming that the other is guilty of harassment. The defendant, in addition to the harassment, says that there was an assault on, that would be on you?
Me.
On you, by the plaintiff.
Yes.
And false police reports, reports to Child Welfare Administration. Each one of you is requesting serious damages as a result of this ongoing harassment and assault. And I gather from reading the papers that when you moved in, the whole bad feeling between neighbors started because of a parking space. Would that be correct?
Correct.
So your car is the white car.
Correct.
Tell me about the problem when you first moved in with the car and go over to the chart.
Okay. So a month after I moved in, I politely asked Pamela if she
Just a
can...
second. Pamela, that would be you.
Yes.
Your last name is Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. So you asked Miss Jackson, whose car is the car parked in front of yours?
Yes, this one.
Okay. So you said to Miss Jackson, go ahead.
I told her if she could please scoot up. We were both pulling in at the same time. We were coming back at the same time, so I thought I could politely ask her if she could just scoot up.
I don't know what that means, and perhaps other people do, but I don't. You asked her to move her car.
Yes, just a little bit forward because on the handicap, the yellow line ends right there.
No,
and
no,
she's-
see, look at me. You asked her to, I see a handicap sign. So you asked her to move up.
Yes,
Why?
because she parks so further back, and when the neighbors park back there, I have to like parallel park, and sometimes I'm in a rush, so I just, want to just get out to go to work or to drop the kids off to school.
So you prefer just, you don't like to parallel park?
I do, but sometimes it's too, I just wanted to politely ask her if she could just scoot up a little bit, because she has a bunch of space in the front.
Well,
so I just thought I could...
I don't see a whole bunch of space. What is handicap? Where is that handicap spot?
Right here in front of her house.
Right there. You have a handicap sign?
When I moved in, I was told I could park there
Just a
because that's
second.
the old one. No, I do not.
You do not. So you shouldn't be parking there anyway.
I was told I could because that was the old sign. That's why they dismissed the ticket that she called to get when I didn't move my car.
Just a second. You can't tell me what somebody else said to you. There's
Well,
a
that was from the
handicap sign.
police department in Marshall.
What, did you have something from the police department indicating that you can park in a handicap spot?
No, they removed it the next day and dismissed it because of that.
Just a second. Is the sign still there?
No, they removed it immediately.
Okay, fine.
Because
so
of
the sign was removed?
Yes.
And what is that alleyway where the trash can is?
That's the driveway for the next door neighbor's
house.
Just
a second. So that what she's doing in parking her car there is permitting the trash cans, which are supposed to be out into the street, right? Point to the trash can.
Yes, right here.
So the trash can is supposed to be out in the street. In order to get back to the house, somebody who lives in that back house has to pull all the way around the trash can and her car if she moves her car up.
Your Honor.
It makes it that much more difficult for the person who lives behind.
I understand. For trash day is understandable.
I don't care. She doesn't. You have to understand, Ms. Hernandez, that she didn't have to accommodate you so that you don't have to parallel park.
I just thought I could ask her politely, and I didn't think it was going to be
okay. So let's go back a second. Now you can go back. So that's what started the trouble. You said politely. Tell me exactly what you said to her. Tell me exactly what you said to her, and you said that that happened in March. Go ahead.
I asked her, I said, excuse me, can you please scoot up a little bit so that I can parallel park? There was no trash
No,
that
just a
day.
second. I don't care. Trash, no trash.
That's how I
she
asked.
doesn't have to figure Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I have to scoot up my car because she doesn't like to parallel park. Do you understand? trash day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Recycling Tuesday and Thursday, but not every week, every other week. So I have to remember to scoot up so that my young neighbor doesn't have to parallel park. It's ridiculous. Okay. It's ridiculous. Is that the way she asked you?
No.
What did she say?
The way she told me was, ma'am, I would appreciate if you would just move around and park in the back. Now, the alleyway, it's illegal to
No, just
park.
a second. She said, let's go slowly.
So
ma'am.
she said, ma'am, I would appreciate if you would please move around to the back alleyway. I need parking for all my friends and family.
No, true. Your Honor, that's not true.
Yeah, I don't believe that. Sarah, I don't know what this is.
You don't have to keep hitting it. That's the whole video.
Thank you. If I hit it, maybe I hit it on the table.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well,
that only works with your phone.
It only works on my
Yeah.
phone? It's fresh math.
Lynette Hernandez claims her neighbor, Pamela Jackson, filed false CPS reports and defamed her. Pamela is countersuing for an assault.
Okay, she asked you to move, and you said to her, your response to her was, it's a public street, I'll park where I want to park.
I tried to explain to her I have arthritis, so if you'll see, I park where I can walk around my car and go up the walkway.
I don't care. You don't have to justify it to me. I asked you the question. You responded what? What did you...
The way I responded was for...
Think. If you don't remember, say I don't remember. Don't make it up.
I remember because I've stated this the whole time. Every time, even the police have sat there and asked why I parked there, because she's called the police over this multiple times. I have even explained to them, I park the way I do.
No, I want you to tell me.
I told her, I says, I'm older, I have arthritis, I park where I do to be able to use my walkway. Her response was, you'll have a better access to your walkway if you pull up. I said, no, the person on my passenger side would, then I have to go up in the grass.
No.
I need a walkway for stability, because I've already had one fall.
Okay, whatever. You told her I can't accommodate you.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's not true because it didn't take that long. She got in her car, and she actually got in, and she scooted up.
And she moved up a little bit.
She moved up a little bit because the trash can wasn't there.
Okay, so you asked her, ma'am, could you move up a little bit? And so what you're telling me is she accommodated you.
She did.
And she didn't say anything to you.
So I thought it was okay.
And then what happened?
And then whenever I was parking, I got off and I told her, I was like, thank you. And then that's when she got upset.
No. In March, what you're saying is you asked her to scoot up, and she did.
And she did.
When was the next date that something happened with the car?
April 6th, she called the cops for the first time because she parked, that's how she parked. She parked very close to my car, as you can see on the picture. She started parking close to me like that. She called the cops for the first time.
Just a second. That photograph was taken April 6th?
Yes, ma'am.
Of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you were parked right in front of your house?
Yes, ma'am.
First. And she parked in front of you?
Correct.
And you're telling me that she called the police?
Correct.
Is that correct?
No.
Okay. Show me that she called the police on April 6th.
She did?
She called the police, and then she was telling them that...
No. Can't tell me what she was telling them. I want to see where she called the police on April 6th. She said she didn't. Is that what you just said to me?
I called the police. I'm not the one that parked. I was already parked there. When she pulled up on me, I called the police because she tapped my back end before she pulled back.
Correct.
Okay. So you were parked there already?
I was already there, and it's an ongoing issue for months. She would pull up on me and sometimes tap my bumper.
And you were in the car?
I wasn't in the car. I was inside.
So you just saw her parked very close to you?
I saw her tap my bumper.
Okay. And that's when you called the police?
Yes.
Okay.
And she knew because she was recording me calling them.
Do you have that?
It's even on her TikTok.
I'd like to see.
I do, because she was lying to them and said that I hit her car, and I did not hit her car.
Which shows she was the one pulling in.
Well, but the scenario that she's telling Ms. Hernandez, that she's telling me, is different from what you told me. So let's get it clear. Was her car parked there first or yours?
Mine was parked there first.
And she says hers was parked there first. That means that she would have to back into that spot, whatever it was.
And she did.
Just a second. That's what you want me. She backed into that spot and backed in very close to your car.
Yes.
I don't believe that.
This is...
I don't believe that. That doesn't...
Okay.
I don't believe that. You're going to have to prove that to me, because that would be silly. I see what you're showing me. What you're showing me is consistent with the cars being very close together, but you want me to believe that she actually backed into that spot.
She did.
Oh, it's a video?
Your Honor, she did park like that day.
Yeah. I hope this video will show me that. I don't know what this... Sarah.
Yeah.
Am I getting the whole
Yeah, you don't have to keep hitting it. That's the whole video. That's it.
Could we do it again?
Yeah.
Thank you. If I hit it, maybe I hit it on the table.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well,
that only works with your phone.
It only works on my
Yeah.
phone? Fresh math. Yeah, all right, this is useless. Okay, so the police came out, and was there a police report?
I have it right here.
May I have it, please? Who else lives in the house with you, Miss Hernandez?
Me and my 2 children.
Oh, well, that was nasty. Over a parking space? How unfortunate.
I'd like to see that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Oh, yes. The officer actually didn't believe her because there was nothing on her car.
Doesn't have to be anything on her car.
But she's
you
making...
tap somebody's bumper, there isn't always damage. That's close enough for me. Okay, give me the paper back.
The officer did not believe her because she lied. She made false accusations, saying that I was threatening her with a knife and with a baby in my arm. Officer didn't believe her because...
Don't tell me what the officer believed or what the officer didn't believe, madam. It's irrelevant what you think the officer believed. If the officer was here, I would question the officer. Okay, it all started over a parking space. And you have to understand, I'm not sympathetic with you. You move into a neighborhood, something is established in the neighborhood, because I'm sure she didn't wait to park in that spot just when you moved in. That's where she's been parking her car. It's not that you don't have a place to park. You have a place to park in front of your house. That's the defendant's house. Her car is parked right in front of her house. You have a place to park. Your car is parked right in front of your house. You want her to move to make it easier for you so that you don't have to struggle to park, so you could just scoot in and scoot out.
I just didn't want to risk hitting her car for being in a garage because the people behind me would park pretty close up.
Who cares? It's a public street. I don't care if you park on Mars. Then park someplace else on the street. It would bother me if that was my driveway and there was a car that was right up to the edge of that driveway, causing me to have to swing out wide every time I pulled into my driveway. And I couldn't do it during trash days because it's even a wider turn. Also that you didn't have to parallel park. I'm telling you, I'm not sympathetic with that. You're not entitled to a public street parking spot. That's sort of an entitlement that what generation?
Gen Z.
Gen Z, which is going to cause the demise of this country.
Lynette Hernandez has accused her neighbor, Pamela Jackson, of defaming her on social media. Pamela claims Lynette assaulted her with a trash can.
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 27.
You're 27. Well, that makes sense. Is that called Gen X? Is that a Gen X? What is that?
I think it's a Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Yeah.
Gen Z, yes.
Your Honor,
There's a whole bunch of entitlements with Gen Z people.
Your Honor, I don't think it's...
Just a second.
Your Honor, I don't think it's fair that she has called CPS on
Just
me.
a second. We're not talking about fair. Right now, we're talking about parking.
Well,
right now, we're talking about what precipitated this bad feeling. And I agree with you. We'll get to the rest of the harassment, but what I'm telling you is you're off base here. You're not entitled to a public street parking spot that may or may not inconvenience somebody else. You have a spot in front of your house. But if the reason you told her to move her car and the people behind is because you don't like to parallel park, that is sort of an entitlement. I'm just telling you, Ms. Hernandez, that's sort of an entitlement that what generation?
Gen Z.
Gen Z, which is going to cause the demise of this country. There is no entitlement to park right in front of your house, comfortably. There's no entitlement to that. You wanted that, you should have bought a house that had a garage. If that started the problem, I'm telling you that you were wrong.
She has a garage.
That doesn't give her license to do bad things. Now, she can call the police if she thinks that you touched her car, which you probably did. You didn't damage it, but you probably touched it because you were annoyed, because that's a constant source of irritation. So I'm not concerned about calling the police. Understand this. I'm concerned about calling CPS, because that's one of the issues here. And Miss Jackson, I believe, in her answer, said she did, in fact, call Child Protective Services.
And I've
Just a
actually got
second.
evidence.
Just a second. You called Child Protective Services when?
I made a call in August. Was it August or September?
If you don't remember, you don't remember. You made a call to Child Protective Services based on 2 times.
Twice. Well, there was the most recent one, so it's 3. So the first one...
Just a second. So you called Child Protective Services 3 times?
All 3 times, and I've got video evidence to why.
Okay, I'd like to see the video evidence.
Actually, pull that up.
Great.
One of them has to do with the fact she was inside, and I'd been outside changing batteries. I went in to verify my cameras, picked up the audio. She had been yelling at her daughter, threatening to beat her up.
Okay, just a second. The first time you called Child Protective Services was in August or September of 2022.
Correct.
That's what you said. Why did you call Child Protective Services the first time?
The first time was I saw her kind of shove her daughter backwards.
You have that on tape?
Did you find the tape on that one?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Your Honor, they did not call CPS in August.
Just a second. She says she did. August or September.
So she's trying to claim earlier that I called in February, but that wasn't me. She had another situation going on. She even told the cop if it hadn't been for her telling me not to move my car, she wouldn't believe I was the one that called.
Okay.
Because she called the police on that.
I don't see anything sufficient for you to call CPS the first time on that. That was a motion with a hand, child didn't fall.
There had been a bunch of yelling out before that.
I don't care. That's an overkill. What's next? When's the next time you called?
The next time I called, and she's got the video she can pull up for you. She was inside. I was changing my battery. She yelled at her daughter to get down.
Where was her daughter?
They were inside.
So you heard her yelling at her daughter?
Heard her yelling at her daughter to get down, or next time she does it, she's going to beat her up, and then we heard break your neck.
Okay, and you videoed that?
Yes, we even showed that to the police.
Okay,
Your Honor,
I'd like
that
to
wasn't
see it. Looking at it, so far you... You hear anything?
She says,
Your Honor,
I'm gonna
that's
beat you
not
up,
me.
and if you don't listen, I'm going to break your neck.
Okay. How old is your daughter?
That's not me. My
Who is
daughter's
it?
7.
Whose voice is it coming from your house?
It's not me. It's the
Whose
neighbor that was on the corner.
Who's... What?
That's not me. My daughter's name or my son's name is Cam. She said Cam.
No, she didn't.
You could listen to it again, and it's going to say Cam. That's not me. That was the person
On that
that's in
side,
the...
nobody
You want me to
has
just
any
listen?
cameras.
Yes, they do.
And she says, hey, get off the couch right now. I'm going to beat you up. Stop playing. Okay. I'm going to break it. Oh, she says, you're going to break your neck.
You're going to break
You're
your
going
neck.
to break your neck.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not me.
Second time. Just a second. Second time. Would I, based on that, she didn't say, I'm going to break your neck. She said, you're going to break your neck.
After she threatened to beat the child up, I'm actually a victim of child abuse.
I'm sympathetic with that, and I'm sensitive to that. I still think that that's a little bit of overkill, Miss Jackson. Let's go further.
To be continued. Marshall and Kai Booker are suing their former employer, Gary Zephyrin, for unpaid wages.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2071, Booker Marshall versus Zephyrin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Zephyrin?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Zephyrin, you're being sued by these 2 people because they say they worked for you delivering packages, I believe, of auto parts. Is that right?
Yes, Judge.
And you didn't pay them. That's simple. You're in the auto parts business or just the delivery business?
Just the delivery business.
For how long?
For about a year.
Explain the business to me, since you're not in the auto parts business, just the delivery business. I have to understand the process and keep it short.
The process is I go to the store, pick up the car parts.
Go to what store?
Hyundai or Toyota.
So you go to the manufacturer?
Yes.
Or the dealership?
The dealership.
And get the part?
And get the part and deliver.
And you take them to independent garages that fix cars?
Yes.
Okay, now I understand. Your business is, you're sort of a middle person between your local auto repair shop and the manufacturer who manufactures those parts or its dealer.
Yes, that's correct.
You don't make a markup on the part, you're just paid for your delivery service. Is that right?
Yes. I do not pay for the parts. All I do is drive and deliver the parts.
So the part has already been ordered and paid for
Yes.
by the garage, by ABC Garage.
Yes.
They just send you to expedite the delivery.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much do you get paid for each delivery?
Well, it's not by each delivery. At this particular contract, it was between $120 and $160 a day.
And you said that this particular contract, what contract is that?
This is the car parts contract. Before the car parts, delivering the car parts, I was delivering packages.
But this operation was just car parts.
Yes, it was.
Now, at some point, these two people, how many vans do you have that deliver the parts?
Currently, I have one van,
What were they using to deliver the parts?
the van that I have.
And what did you do?
I worked in my 9 to 5.
You had a different job.
Yes.
What kind of job did you have?
I work at the Navy Yard.
So this is sort of a side gig.
A hobby, I would say.
Well, a hobby, $120, $160 a day is a nice hobby.
I think so.
Yeah, okay. And so based upon what you told me before, both of these people did, in fact, deliver parts using your van to various ABC garages.
They also used it for personal use, too, yes.
I don't care, but they used it because you didn't use it. You were doing your day job, according to you.
Yes.
And this was a side gig where these two people were working during the day to deliver the parts.
Mr. Marshall was working during the day.
Okay, let's just say Mr. Marshall.
Okay.
And Mr. Marshall sort of contracted with Miss Booker, or did you?
Mr. Marshall did.
You contracted with her. You agreed with her that you would split up this delivery. You would do it a couple of days, and she would do it a couple of days.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, so you had no direct agreement with him. Miss Booker, look at me. My question is, did you have a direct agreement or ever meet or discuss salary with the defendant?
No, I did not discuss
And you can sit down. Okay. Because you have to have some sort of an agreement with someone in order to sue them. You had no agreement with him. Whatever agreement you had with him, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
And am I correct, Mr. Marshall, that you were supposed to be paid, according to you, a certain amount per day to make these deliveries? You decided you wanted to work 3 days a week and she would work 2?
Yes,
That's
Judge.
what I thought I read. Okay. How much was the defendant supposed to pay you a day?
$80, Judge.
So you had a deal for between $120 and $160 a day. You were paying him $80. You were working your day job. And so you were either going to get $40 or $80, depending upon the work that was done, right?
Correct.
And you were going to get that as a result of his work.
Yes.
Perfect. Now, this is what you say. You say that you all decided to go into business together. You bought this van. You paid for the insurance. He was going to work and make the deliveries. I'm telling you what you wrote.
Okay.
And if you have a problem with that, you'll tell me in a minute.
Okay.
He was supposed to work, make the deliveries, and not get paid until you paid off all your expenses, your startup expenses, the van, your insurance. Didn't you say that to me?
Yes, I
Or
did.
maybe I'm thinking about another case.
I did say
You
that.
did say that to me.
I just want to correct the we, because I bought the van and I paid up all the stuff.
I said you paid. I didn't say he paid. You paid the van. You paid for the insurance. He was going to drive. He says you were supposed to pay him $80 a day to do that because you had a full-time job. You were making your money. Your defense to it is that that was not the agreement. The agreement was that he would work for free until all the expenses were paid off that you advanced for the little business.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How much was the van?
$2,000.
So it was an old van.
Yes.
And how many months did you work at this job before you had a kerfuffle with him?
A year and 3 months.
Is that correct, sir, that he worked a year and 3 months?
It seems more about close to a year to me.
And when you say you worked for a year, was that 52 weeks a year?
Yes.
5 days a week?
Yes. Sometimes on Saturday.
From when to when?
I would work depending
No,
on
from what month and year to what month and year?
January 2021 until March or April 2022.
And in that year plus, how much money did you make? If you kept records of the days that you worked and how many hours you worked and how much you were supposed to be paid, then I could look at that. But I can't do this. This is ridiculous.
Judge, may I explain?
You can try, but you're going to be unsuccessful, Mr. Marshall, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to try.
And later today.
He did, in fact, bring you a truck.
He didn't.
Never brought you a truck.
Never brought me the truck, never returned my money, anything.
Oh.
Marquis Marshall and Kai Booker claim their former employer, Gary Zephyrin, owes for unpaid contractor work.
Okay. In that year plus, how much money did you make?
Judge, it's a tough question because Mr. Zephyr never paid me what he was supposed to pay me. He always came up with an excuse or a reason why.
I want to know how much money you made in that year.
I don't know off the top of my head,
Well,
Judge.
then I can't help you. I have to know how much money he paid you, and I'm going to figure out from how much money he paid you, because even if I buy his defense, the van was only $2,000. So you have to sit down and figure out how much, unless you know. How much did you pay him?
Around $320 a week.
What do you mean around? I mean, you're a businessman.
He did not work 5 days a week. He's saying he worked 4 to 6 days a week. All he worked was 3 to 5 days a week.
I assume you were paid in cash?
Yes.
But you were paid during that year.
Yes.
Give me an idea in thousands how much you were paid.
Around $20,000?
$20,000.
Yes, Judge.
Around.
Yes, Judge.
So he did, in fact, pay you.
He didn't pay me everything he was supposed to pay me, Judge.
Well, how am I supposed to figure that out, sir? How am I supposed to figure that out? You keep records of what you delivered? Does he keep records? He doesn't have to prove your case. You have to prove your case.
Yes, Judge.
So do you keep records of when you worked and when you were paid?
Yes, I keep records of when I worked, Judge, but I did not keep records of what I was paid because we're always arguing. He never paid me the full $700.
That's not the reason you don't keep records. I'm sorry, Mr. Marshall. If you kept records of the days that you worked and how many hours you worked and how much you were supposed to be paid, then I could look at that. And I can ask him, and I assume he's a businessman. He would have the same records, and there may be a dispute, but I can't do this. This is ridiculous.
Judge, may I explain?
You can try, but you're going to be unsuccessful, Mr. Marshall, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to try.
I appreciate it, Your Honor. Mr. Zephyr was my friend. We went to the same high school, played on the same high school basketball team. I was the MVP, he was the team captain. Recently, his health has been declining. Because his health has been declining a year ago, I went to Mr. Zephyr and I said, I'm a private contractor and I have different contracts with places. I think that you should do private contracts so you can spend more time with your kids and your wife. I apologize, but I'm emotional.
Well, don't get emotional.
I used to love this gentleman.
Mr. Marshall, what I'm telling you is don't get emotional. This is not...
Okay.
It's a sad thing that you know each other for a long time, I hear, and that it's come down to a case in court. But you have to understand that in order for me to make a judgment, I need facts and information. And it's not as if you're saying to me that you delivered packages, which he acknowledges, and you were never paid. What you say is that you were shortchanged.
Yes, Judge.
And you have to be able to show me that.
I have the agreement of Mr. Zephyr agreeing to pay me the $80 a day, and we came out with a pay
Just a second. That's okay. I have to see when you worked and what you were paid. How am I supposed to figure out what it is that he owes you?
Because we both know that he only paid me $300 instead of the $700. We both know that.
Well, he paid you $20,000, so that's not true. According to you, he paid you $20,000. So if what you're saying that he paid you $300 and he owed you $700, is that what you're saying to me?
Yes.
Okay, so it was the last period of time that you worked for him?
Yes.
Okay, so that last period of time was when to when? Give me the month, give me the day.
January to March this year.
From January to March.
Yes, Judge.
Of 2022.
Yes, Judge.
You work and you claim you were owed $700. That's what you just said. Is that correct?
I apologize for the miscommunication, Judge. He only paid me $3 when he was supposed to pay me $7.
Just a second. You're not paying attention to me, sir. I said your claim is that he owed you $700.
He owes me more than $700.
No.
Judge.
What you said was he owed me $700 and he only paid me $300. Could you read that back?
Yes.
Could you read
Judge.
that?
Yes, Judge. You're correct, Judge.
Okay, then we don't have to read it back. That's why I have Whitney. You said he owed me $7, he only paid me $3, which means he owes you $400.
Correct, Judge.
And that was from a January to a March.
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Do you have any records of that, sir?
I paid him in cash, so I don't have any records of the payments that I was paying him. Mr. Marshall, he really never wanted me to keep records.
Okay, don't tell me what he wants. It's your business. Don't be foolish, sir. Did you have a dispute with him over this $400?
I did. We had many disputes.
Okay. Did you, in those disputes, refer to a part that got misdelivered by either the plaintiff or the person who he subcontracted with that caused you to lose a customer?
Yes.
Okay. And was that the reason that you didn't give him the $400? Just listen to my question. You had a dispute after all this time over a part, according to your answer, that was misdelivered to a customer.
Yes.
Which caused you, according to you, to lose the customer. I don't know that. But that you indicated was the reason that this arrangement went south. So my question to you is that why you didn't pay him the $400?
No, it's not. He didn't return my van.
Oh, So the reason you didn't pay him the $400 that you acknowledged that you owe him was because he kept your van.
And and my contract was canceled due to Cab Booker.
Okay. Did you get your van back?
Yes, I did.
How many days later?
2 days later, after I threatened to call the police.
Okay, you owe him the $400, sir. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $400. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
You can't keep somebody's van for 48 hours and still expect your money.
He's lying about the fact that we stole the van and that we had it for those 2 days.
I think it was really bad that he's suing me over this. We've been friends since high school.
Document everything that you do when you do it. That would make better sense.
But hey, things happen. He got a new girlfriend and things happen.
Not a difficult situation. If you choose to pay an employee in cash, you have to keep records. Both parties should have kept some sort of records. Otherwise, what they were asking me to do was guess. This defendant actually made it easy for me because without his statement, I would have dismissed the case. He said the reason he kept the $400 because the plaintiff did not return his van right away, kept it for 2 days. Well, that's sort of retaliatory. How do you fix $400 as
cost for keeping
as a cost?
van.
You know, that's ridiculous. That's self-help. Keep records,
You should.
especially if you want to come to court.
Exactly.
Case number 2075, Johnson versus McIntosh. All parties, please step forward.
Dominique Johnson is suing her children's uncle, Chris McIntosh, for a truck she never received.
Miss Johnson, this is your brother-in-law. I believe that, is it your husband or is he your ex-husband?
No, it's just my kid's father.
Okay. The father of your children is currently incarcerated?
Yes.
So he's not your brother-in-law, he's just the brother of the father of your children?
Yes.
Okay, you have 2 children?
I have 3.
Is he the uncle of all 3?
Yes.
Okay. There came a time when you were in need of a new vehicle or a different vehicle. Your car was giving you trouble.
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh, according to what I've read, has tried to maintain a relationship with his brother's children.
Yes.
Despite the fact that you no longer have a relationship with him.
Yes.
And according to what I'm putting together, you reached out to him or you were on the phone with him and told him you needed another car.
Yes.
And according to you, he said he had a car, a truck.
Yes.
That he would sell you for $2,700.
Yes, that he would personally bring to me.
And he did, in fact, bring you a truck.
He didn't.
So on what date did you buy it?
I don't.
Think. You know, you're coming to court today. You knew that this was the issue when you came here.
Yeah.
Not yeah, yes.
Dominique Johnson claims her children's uncle, Chris McIntosh, owes for the cost of a truck she never received.
According to you, he said he had a car, a truck.
Yes.
That he would sell you for $2,700.
Yes, that he would personally bring to me.
And he did, in fact, bring you a truck.
He didn't.
Never brought you a truck.
Never brought me the truck, never returned my money, anything.
Oh.
I even tried
Just
to...
a second.
Okay.
So you sent him the $2,700.
Yes.
What date?
June 21st of this year.
What happened to her $2,700?
Bought the truck there and then dropped it off.
What truck did you bring there?
2007 Suburban.
And where did you get that truck from?
I got it from an auction.
Okay, I'd like to see the paperwork.
I don't have the paperwork.
Well, that's unfortunate. Why wouldn't you bring the paperwork? It's only a couple of months ago.
Because the auction is every first Thursday. It's not the same person running the same auction. They don't have the same paperwork for the auction.
Well, if you had paperwork, you would have also have had a title for it.
Yeah, and I left it in the glove compartment box.
What's the name of the auction?
Towing.
Where are they located?
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Sarah, would you look that up, please? She did send you the money.
Correct.
How did she send it to you?
Cash App.
Yep, which I have proof, Your Honor.
No, there's only one issue. She says that you never brought any truck. You say, well, you bought this truck at an auction. The auction is every Thursday?
Every first Thursday of the month.
First Thursday. So on what date did you buy it?
I don't...
Think. You know, you're coming to court today. You knew that this was the issue when you came here.
Yeah.
Not yeah, yes. So what date was it that you bought the truck? That you have no paperwork
Thursday.
for at all?
Thursday.
Which Thursday?
What month was that I bought you the truck? I really don't know. Like, I'm being so serious like right now, like...
Honestly, if I could speak, it was June 21st I sent him the money. June 21st was when he was supposed to bring the truck to me. He never bought the truck. Then he stated to me that he sold the truck and that he had another one that was less, and I have that truck as well. This was the first truck initially I was supposed to get.
Did he ever bring you any truck?
No, not at all.
Do you have any phone messages?
I do.
I'd like to see them, please.
And towing. It's a towing and auction house.
Okay, say when they have auctions?
It doesn't list it on their website, but I could try and see.
It's a lot of them, honestly, a lot of messages.
I have those dates of the auction. They list their past auctions. There was one May 5th of this year, June 5th of this year, July 2nd, August 6th, and September 3rd of this year, all the most recent. June 5th. And I actually have a list of every car that was included in that June 5th auction. So if you give me the make and model, I could see if it was included in that auction on June 5th.
You went in June for the auction or in July?
Yeah, June 5th.
He said a 2007 Yukon, right?
No, Suburban.
2007 Suburban.
There was actually 2 different trucks that...
Well, that's the one he said he bought.
The only car from 2007 at the June 5th auction was a 2007 Nissan Murano.
Nissan Murano. It wasn't a Nissan Murano. That was the only one that was sold in June 2007.
It was sold in 2007, but I bought a 07 Tahoe Suburban.
I understand that. But you say you bought it in June, and they list on the website everything that they sold in the June auction. Am I understanding that right, Sarah?
Yes.
They list all the cars that they sold in the June auction. And the only car that they sold that was a 2007 was a Murano. He says, and I will be leaving in about an hour or 2 after I get the Venmo. Would you please just put where you start to ask for your money back because you didn't get the truck? That's what I want to see. I want my money back because you didn't bring me the truck.
There was no Chevy Tahoe 2007 at the July 2nd auction.
Either.
And a lot of the vehicles, a select few, are above $1,500, and that's for newer models. Everything else is under $950.
Thank you. There was no such car either in June or July.
No.
Okay. That's so interesting that they have that information on a website. Ms. Johnson, you can't just give me your phone and expect me to go through pages. All I want, you said you had something indicating that you told him you wanted your money back because you didn't get a truck. So far, there's no evidence that he bought you a truck from the place that he said he bought you a truck.
Yep, here's the part where I'm asking for the money back. He doesn't have proof that he even bought the truck.
No, there is no proof that he bought the truck.
He never bought the truck. Okay, so starting from here, this is me asking if he want to just cash at me back my money because he never showed up.
Read it to me.
Oh, okay. It says, do you want to just cash at me back the whole $2,700 because all this waiting isn't necessary. It's just a few...
Gelmiş çaktırmadan anlatılıyor. Ama gidiyorum. Gece dönüyorum. That was the one word. Demin yaptığım hal. Böyle bir şey hiç beklemiyordum. Super early. Perfect motivation. Alıyorlar böyle söylemiyorlar. Yes, please. Hello.
Robin, what's the menu, please?
That's illegal. After what I